assume you can. Okay, they have started recording, so we will start, and I assume there will be some others joining us soon. Brandon Thompson was going to join us, but I don't see him yet. So, well, how are you doing? What's been good in your life? Rebecca, you want to jump in?
It's kind of been a whirlwind over the last week, but all positive and really enjoying lots of outside time in November, right?
Yeah, amazing. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, likewise, definitely enjoying the weather. I think lots of kind of collective anxiety in the community surrounding the election. So I've been busy kind of working with folks therapeutically around some of those experiences. And I was glad to see your letter that, John, that you had sent us the draft. That was nice to see that. The commission. That was really nice. I appreciate that, John.
Yeah, I just have to respond to something in the chat here. Lots of good things going on that I'm aware of, but one of them is we have a new dog. So
You have a new dog?
We have a new dog, yes. So That's fun. Rosie.
Oh, it's a great name.
Are you going to make an appearance today at our meeting, or?
Well, I suppose we might be able to do that. Let's see.
Oh,
there she is, I think.
Oh.
We're out this morning, I think. So, hey, Brandon.
Hi, Brandon.
Hey,
everybody. I just got to get frozen on my TV, and then I'll be with you. My daughter is
here. Go ahead.
Listening. Also,
Brandon's been working on the anti-racism leadership gathering, the summit that as we had been calling it, and so he was interested in joining us today to talk a little about that. Hey, Marlene, people were just sharing something good from recent. So, what you got?
How about this wonderful weather and the fact that we can be outdoors? Although I have a background that doesn't show you I am outdoors and enjoying every minute of it. So
we should make our backgrounds look exactly like what's really behind us, just to throw people off somehow. So Dawn is here somewhere. It says let me reply to her in the chat. Oh. And now I'm going to try to reply to Dawn. Dawn, can you speak to us at all or hear us or what? Oh, she says she can hear us just fine. But, okay. All right. Oh, there you are. There you are. We're making progress.
Thank you. It might not have liked the computer I was using.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be that Scott Thompson from the city fixed it for us. But so we're just going around sharing something good from our recent life. Do you want to jump in with that, Brandon?
Sure. My presidential candidate won on my mom's birthday, and I was talking to her, and I found out, and that was really positive for me. So
nice. How about you, Don?
Just a big sigh of relief.
Yeah.
That it looks like we're moving in the right direction, finally, with the presidential race. Mostly being called, but still waiting for the process to complete. So no, it's been a great week. I'm happy to be back in Ohio, and looking forward to the meeting.
Great. Yeah. I think Ramey's about to join us. Lacey, I know, had a conflict. Laura's internet has been very squirrely today, so she wasn't sure if she'd be able to get in here or not. And I'm not sure about Micah. I know he had some trouble with connecting with this system the last time, so I was hoping he could get in, but we'll see. There's Ramey. So, hey, Ramey, we were just sharing something good from our recent life. So you want to jump in with that, and then we'll.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out. Can you hear me yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I never tell whether I'm muted or unmuted. Nothing new in my life right now. Just hanging out, trying to stay safe and well.
Well, those are good things. So, yeah. So I'm assuming that we will approve our minutes and talk in particular about the anti-racism leadership gathering and book clubs. Are there other new or old items that people want to make sure are on the agenda? The other thing, and I don't know if we'll work to have conversation about it, but currently I'm the chair, and we really would love to have a co-chair. I would love to have a co-chair to help with some of the work, and it's not a tremendous burden, I don't think, but having another person involved to do some of the tasks would be really good. So my other question is, who's willing to take minutes for this meeting?
I can do that, John. I think I just need to jump off about 5 minutes early. So if someone could just grab like the last 5 minutes.
Sure. Okay. Good. And Brandon is here to join us because he's been working on the anti-racism leadership gathering. So assuming that's okay with everybody, he will stay at least for that part and maybe for the whole meeting if he's able. So cool. Well, first of all, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Is anybody unhappy with that idea, or all in favor?
Sorry, who
Nose or
seconded?
stick your thumb up, or jump up and down or something. Great. Okay.
I just didn't catch who seconded that. Sorry.
Yeah. And actually, the other thing. Rachel, were you the second? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry,
Marlene. Okay.
Okay. The other thing that I forgot to mention on the agenda is just kind of an update about the class at the high school. And Brandon, were you willing to do a 2-minute summary on what we've been doing at the high school and how that's going?
Sure. I wasn't prepared, but I can. We've been meeting every week. It's been really powerful. At least for me, going to Athens High School, it's been really cool to have these discussions. We just had our second retreat, so we meet for about 2 hours on a Sunday for a little longer time. But we've had all types of discussions. One surrounding the use of the N-word, implicit bias, and so the students seem to be really enjoying. I think the honesty is something I've been getting. So the facilitators have different journals that they respond to, and there's been a lot of people saying that it's really like an honest space. The topic was important, but also adults being able to just be honest about difficult things. So it's been really positive, and we're talking about next semester hopefully, and what we can do with that, and just expanding it. So I don't know. I feel pretty comprehensive, John. Feel free to fill anything I didn't.
Yeah, no. I like that summary, and I feel the same way. I would love to be meeting in person, but even on Zoom, I think it is being a safe. A lot of people have used that phrase of safe space or honest space. And we have 16 students. 15 female students and 1 male student. So we wanted something about that going forward. I think there are 5 students who identify as part of the global majority, students of color, and the rest are white students, and actually a pretty even mix among the classes. We have, all 4 grade levels pretty well represented. So, and the plan is to do it again with a new group of students in the winter semester, as long as we can, find enough student interest to do that. And that, I think we will be encouraging the students who are in this semester to, form some kind of formal or informal club so that they can continue to have discussions, even if it's not every week. But yeah, and the school has continued to be very supportive and continues to support it financially. So that's the thing on that. Anybody have questions or thoughts?
I just want to thank the facilitators for putting their time and emotional energy into that work at the school. It's so important, and I just really appreciate that, the work. So thanks.
The 2 of us, and then also Laura and Lacey from our commission, and also Emmy Jean-Francois. So I might have gotten that right. who was in the summer, who graduated in the spring from Athens High School, was in the summer discussion group, and now is participating this fall as one of the facilitators. So,
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and I would give a shout out to Emmy. I mean, she's a freshman in college, and she's led 2 classes on her own, and no way I could have done that at that age, and with that topic. So it's been really cool that we've had that engagement with younger people as well. So
yeah, she's quite an impressive human being. Great. So I would like to talk a little bit about what I think we are currently calling the Anti-Racism Leadership Gathering. And the date has been set for, Marlene and Ramy and Rebecca and Brandon and I and Micah, am I leaving anybody out who's been part of that organizational team, have met several times, I think maybe 4 times now. And we've set a date. We've are crafting an invitation letter that will go out this week. We've got a huge list of people people and organizations we will invite, and so I'd like to share the invitation letter with you, and also ask Marlene and Brandon and Rebecca what they might want to share about what we're doing. So maybe we should do that first. Marlene, anything you want to share about what we're doing? And
Yeah, I think that.
And Ramy's part of that. I'm sorry if I left you out. Yeah, go ahead, Marlene.
I think that we're planning a meaningful gathering that will take us from words to action. I thought that was a very important thing that we put at the forefront, and that we are really taking into account that our community organizations as well as university organizations may be at different stages. And so we really want to reaffirm the work that everyone's doing, but then also hopefully inspire everyone to move forward and give them sets of resources that really help them to make a difference. So, and help us to make a difference as well. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Ramy, anything you want to add?
No, I think we're moving forward. I think our central question is getting the information out and then seeing what the response is in terms of willingness to participate. So I'm looking forward to that part of the process, because that will then help us fine-tune the agenda given the population or the audience that we want to work with.
Brandon, anything you want to add?
I think what I'm most excited about it is just the fact that it's reaching out. It's such a really wide net. It's not just groups that are currently doing this work. It's people who want, or individuals in the groups that want to do, like Marlene says, going from words to actions, but also engaging people who maybe have not done that, but want to have that be a central piece of their group. So I think that's very needed in this area. So.
And Rebecca and Dawn have both been interested in helping, but haven't been able to make meetings yet. So I don't know if either of you had anything to add or.
No, I'm sorry I couldn't make it yesterday. I'm looking forward to being helpful moving in the future. Happy to help promote whatever you all need. I'm happy to help moving forward. Sorry I'm late in joining.
It happens. We have lives. Yeah. How about you, Dawn? Anything to add?
No, I likewise would like to be involved. I've just had difficulties getting things on my calendar. But yes, I would definitely like to be involved.
Yeah, I think the big involvement for all of us going forward, for everyone who's interested, is that outreach. And our initial idea was to kind of divvy up the list where we already have some connections and start out with the email invitation and then follow up particularly in some cases with, phone calls or texts or something to try to get it in people's attention. Yeah, Rachel.
I just had a question. I haven't been too active in this part of things recently just because of sort of the demands in my own life, but curious to know, so it sounds like there's a couple different levels to the goal for the meeting. Is the meeting planned also virtually?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other question I had was, like in terms of like the wide net, is there an overarching goal?
I can share the invitation and you can see maybe a bit more, and I think that'll help answer that. But then if it doesn't, say so. I was just texting Micah to see if he's trying to join, because I know last time he couldn't get in. Why don't I do that? I'll go ahead and share that if I can. The invitation letter. And I'm remembering one thing I forgot to change on it. So that's good for me to notice. Get that out of the way so I can move that. Let's get up to the beginning. There we go. So here's the invitation. And so any thoughts, I did send this by email to everybody, but it was just half an hour ago, so you may not have seen it yet. Any thoughts about edits, but also about the concept and the big goal, as Rachel said. So we talked about whether to target people who are more that we know are already engaged in anti-racism work in some way. And the decision was to cast a pretty wide net, but also make it clear that we are talking about moving toward leadership on anti-racism. So it's not just people show up because they think, oh, that's a nice idea, but they've got to be a little further along than that. Are you ready to move toward leadership as an organization in racial justice work? Are you ready to make anti-racism a focus in your life and in your organization? So those are a couple key questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next section talks a little more about what we're trying to do. How do we move from words to action? Actually, one of the students in our class, Brandon, in something she wrote about a project that she's trying to do, talked about moving from empathy to action. And I really liked that turn of phrase. I asked her if I could borrow it if we needed. So how can we work together to create a fully inclusive and welcoming community? And how can we influence organizations and institutions toward anti-racism? Aimed at help us make connections. So part of it, Rachel, I think, was the sense that There are a lot of, between the community and the university, there are a lot of little initiatives or big initiatives happening, but it's very much siloed. Even with the Racial Equity Coalition, which draws together some of those people, there's still things happening that, I keep hearing about things that I knew nothing about, and I'm sure that's true for everybody. So it's partly about bringing people together. So it's aimed to help us make connections with other individuals and organizations to strengthen our commitment to this work and come away with concrete steps we can take. Sometime as a large group, we're assuming we might use kind of an art of hosting style and do a lot of small group work with very specific questions that people might respond to. I'm going to jump this up a little bit. So be aimed at, I read that. It's designed to nurture collaboration, curiosity, inspiration, learning, and intersectionality. It is not designed to be an academic exercise to find the one right way to do things or to criticize the efforts of others. We need your energy, commitment, and thinking. And the thing I forgot to change, Brandon, that we discussed yesterday was about the RSVP. We want to, as we send it out, encourage us people to let us know right away. We will accept RSVPs up until just before the event, but we want to encourage people to let us know immediately if they're interested. And we probably, I could put down mine. We probably ought to put down a phone number if people simply have questions. And Marlene is going to create, I think I'm right in saying that, Marlene, that you were going to create a Qualtrics link. And so there'd be a little mini survey of people who are registering.
I think it was Micah.
Oh, it was Micah's doing that. Okay, sorry about that. So that will be included as well. I didn't hear back from Micah, so don't know what happened to his schedule today. But so why don't we just go around? Who's got thoughts or worries? Or I'm going to stop sharing this so we can look at each other a little better again. But what thoughts or questions or concerns do you have?
I, of course, have a question.
Yeah, great.
You're a curious person, I guess. But maybe because I've been on the outside of this, so I'm coming in now. So excuse me if this sort of is maybe this is redundant. But something that has come up in some of our previous work and kind of the other diversity work that I'm aware of, sometimes when we're casting these wide nets, one of the things that can happen is that because kind of people are coming in at different sort of developmental levels or exposure levels, seems to be sort of a high risk for some microaggressions or even overt aggressions actually to occur in these kinds of settings. And I just somehow I think it's really important to think about, to some extent, the risks too of bringing people together so that we can make sure that we're not maybe putting more weight on the shoulders of people who tend to be put in that space of like educating or like vocalizing their hurt in a really public way in order to educate other people about microaggressions that happen. So I just sort of feel like it would be really nice, and I'm happy to help with facilitation too in this. I haven't been a part of these meetings, but I'm happy to do that as well. But to have a really kind of as facilitators or leaders of this gathering, to have a solid idea about what our commitment is to helping the meeting move in a way that doesn't end up feeling like that for people of color especially. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Every time we bring people together, there's some risk of that. And you're right in this in particular. One of the things we specifically talked about is acknowledging the different levels of experience that people have. And I'm assuming
as a guideline. We will talk about that people may make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes, but then we get to clean them up if we did. One thing that I think we're planning to do very specifically is try to have as broad a representation from people of color in the event as possible, so that it's not 2 or 3 people who are being put on the spot, as sometimes happens in Athens, or 1, but that there's a critical mass of people of the global majority. I don't know, do others want to speak to that? I think it's a really good thing for us to be thinking about. Go ahead, John. Were you going to say more, Rachel?
I think my internet's not working really good, so I apologize if you can't hear me well. I just know that this time, even with like the recent political landscape and everything that's been going on, has been a really like heavy and laborsome time right now. So I also just think I think maybe what I would like to suggest specifically is that maybe we could craft some guidelines that go out ahead of time that even kind of could support people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think it's really good to be thinking about all this. Others want to respond to that?
As an only usually in most groups, I appreciate that. Just bring that up, because I think that is ultra important, because a lot of people look to people of color for the answers, and telling my personal stories does take a toll. I think some people are not aware of. So I think thinking that through and seeing if we can maybe lower that as much as possible. So it's not because it'll never be an equal trade when we have these discussions, but if we can at least minimize the amount of work that certain groups have to do, I think that'd be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's partly the job of facilitators to step in as well, in as elegant or clumsy a way as we can, so that it doesn't just fall on the people of color to be the brunt of those things. So. Others have thoughts or questions or reactions to the invitation and how this is looking? Rebecca, anything you want to add?
I think that the ideas for the guidelines, I think that's a really, really good idea. And then Marlene just put in the chat to add a sentence. Is it designed as a community learning and support event that explores the many ways in which organizations can move towards anti-racism and to support and strengthen the work of other organizations and individuals? So I think that's, I'm sorry, I'm not good at multitasking, so I was trying to copy that into the notes, but I feel that that's really, really important to acknowledge also. So I would just support both of those ideas wholeheartedly.
Great. Anything else you want to add, Marlene? Marlene is so great at putting 32 ideas in the chat every half an hour.
Introvert's dream, can I say again?
Everybody has their expertise, and that's Marlene's.
Yeah, that's right.
We need it, because she has great ideas.
Yeah. How about you, Dawn? As you're seeing this for the first time, any reactions or thoughts or additions or subtractions?
So I agree with Marlene on talking about what it is before what it isn't. I have more of a question that's not related necessarily to the invitation. It's more to the event. And just curious, do we have any funding for the event, or is this all kind of happening in the virtual realm?
It's happening in the virtual realm. I think we have every reason to expect, if we need funding, that we can get it from the city. And at the moment, I'm not picturing needing funding. But if it seems like we do, then we should pursue that.
I just wasn't sure how it was all being planned
Yeah, if we were being together, it would cost some money, and that's the thing about Zoom is it tends not to. And refreshment. I suppose we could send everybody a voucher so they could get their own refreshments. But
Yeah.
Well, and I do have a reason for asking that, John. And I mean, that has been something with a little bit more of, I guess, anxiety in the federal realm with an executive order that came out probably 6 weeks ago, maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago, about just using federal funding for anything of this sort is just wise not to do until January, February.
Mm-hmm.
The funding piece, yeah, and since we're not using funding, it probably doesn't apply to us. And if we were, and they tried to apply to us, that might be a good fight to have. But yeah,
Yes.
A good one, but I don't want to take away from the purpose of the meeting.
yeah. Well, I think as things stand, we're not going to be using any federal funding, so I think we're okay. Ramey, anything you wanted to add?
No, I was just thinking that I could supply the wine for those of us already planning.
That's, yeah. I know some organizations have had people pre-register and then run around and left, cookies and tea on people's doorsteps. So we could consider that, but I might not have the bandwidth to take that piece on. So, but if Raven wants to send wine around to people, that'd be great. And Marlene just had an idea, and I've lost it. A bulk purchase rate. Yeah, we can definitely get a bulk purchase rate and get a copy of Kendi's book. Which Kendi's book are you thinking of? How to be an anti-racist?
How to be an anti-racist or stamped, if you think they've already, depending on which one, or we could get, both and just give different ones to different folks if they had a preference. But what I do love about how to be an anti-racist is if we're talking about some community groups that might just be starting on this journey, that this gives them a common set of definitions. And when they're talking about things, right, they're able to communicate in a way that enables that growth in communication.
I think that's a lovely idea. And, I think you can probably get things even cheaper through Amazon or something. But if you go to Little Professor and it's for a book club, they will give you a 20% discount. So the 60 copies of Stamped that we ordered for the book clubs, we got through Little Professor.
And we support a local business, which is also
absolutely. And with the 20% off, it works out reasonably well anyway. So we could do that, and I would think we could certainly ask the city for money to do that if we can't dig it up somewhere else.
So that we don't reinvent the wheel. I have a good friend at Texas A&M, Anna Wolf, who's been involved directly in difficult dialogues such as this on anti-racism. I'd be happy to check in with her to see if there are some guidelines that she already is aware of with respect to how to control the incidents of microaggression and what kinds of strategies to utilize in order to minimize the possibility of that during the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's already done this kind of work.
It's going to happen. It's actually more about just shutting it down. I mean, I think we can assume it is going to happen, and it's just more about recognizing and shutting it down.
It's just how to manage it and how to work with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I love the strategy of saying, "I am so glad you brought that up." A lot of us are confused about what kind of terminology to use. That particular phrase you used, is blah blah blah, but not dump on people for making the mistake, but say, this is something we all can learn from. But and lots of us in this group do have a lot of experience around these groups, but I think it'd be great to get more resource from your friend as well. Brandon, anything you want to throw in the pot before we move on?
No.
Okay.
We met yesterday. I think I love the idea. I'm glad I'm just part of it. So, but yeah, nothing new.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Well, so the next step will be just polishing this draft that our planning group looked at yesterday, and then this is the revision based on those suggestions. So we'll go through one more time and then add the Qualtrics piece and hopefully get it sent out this week. I can send the updated. Brandon has incorporated the lists that we've come up with of some of the organizations we'd reach out to. So we can send that out to everybody and invite you to pick a handful of ones where you might have connections where the invitation can actually come from you. And because we think that'll be a more powerful way to do it.
Actually, John, there was something I wanted to ask about that list because Marlene sent me some names after, and then Rebecca sent some ideas as well. Do we want that list to continue to just grow up until the event, or is there a cutoff, or how did we want? Because we have a list right now; it's not exhaustive, but as we're probably meeting each week, we'll probably think of 2 more or something like that. Is there a point where we want to say, okay, we're good here, or I don't know, that's just what thoughts, or do we just want people, hey, just keep inviting everyone and, what's the group think, I guess. So,
yeah.
I think if we use our deadline of December the 11th,
People have thoughts about
that could be a cutoff point for the simple reason that otherwise it's too soon for people to change their whatever else is on their schedule in order to free up time to participate. But that would be at least a cutoff point that would be logical to work with.
Yeah.
In terms of inviting people up through the 11th or to the 11th, and then the next 4 days.
Yeah.
Just
Anybody else have reactions about that?
Call from Conscious Appliance.
Do you all have do you have an ideal size? Or do we want it to be as big as possible?
Yeah, I think these are things we talked about. We talked about ideal size a little bit, but given that we decided not to just make it for the central players, and it's nice. It'd be nice to have 12 or 15 people, right, and really dig in. But the choice is to spread a broad net, and if we have 100 people, it looks a lot different than if we have 30. But maybe that's not a bad thing. So I think let's keep inviting them, given that we've decided to go with the big net. And if we end up with 300 people, well, that's interesting, right? That can't be a bad thing. And we will use small groups and whatever we end up with, it'll be interesting. If there's only 15 people or organizations that feel like they really want to stick both feet into this, well, okay, then that's where we are, and let's go from there. And if it turns out there's a lot more, but I guess I don't feel like, especially given that our invitation includes, we expect you to be leaning toward leadership in this area. I think, what the hell, let's invite them.
Mm-hmm.
And it may create the opportunity for a resource network, right? So all the conservation eco organizations might want to go off together and see what they can do together. Others that are about education or other things, right? It might create that kind of natural community too.
Yeah. And the intent is to use the information that people put into the Qualtrics thing to make a really good roster, so that people can follow up with each other. There won't always be the space in the meeting, but somebody might notice, oh, I need to talk to Brandon more. Oh, I need to talk to Rachel more. And so give people the easy resource to be able to do that with each other. So let's, are we okay with moving on from that?
Yeah.
And yes, we can do smaller follow-up gatherings. And we're not pre-planning a follow-up thing. And some of it may be funneling people into the existing things they're already doing, but we're not opposed to following up in a variety of ways as well. So I think we'll we'll see what happens with that, and then meet afterwards. Is where we landed with that. So I wanted to bring up the book clubs because there was interest by teachers and community members who couldn't participate this summer in being able to participate. And just to remind you, the book clubs, there were 6 different book clubs. They met for 8 weeks, and about 30 participants were Athens City Schools teachers or administrators, and about 25 were community folks. So some people expressed an interest in being in a book club who weren't in one, and the people who were in them expressed some interest in continuing in some way. And now that school has got a little time under its belt, and from my point of view, now that the election is mostly over, it's probably time to do that. And this on the school end, they've agreed to fund continuation of the book clubs. And of course, we don't know now that it's during the school year, it's different than during the summer. And on the community end, I would guess we could find lots of people who would want to do that if we, again, cast a wide enough net. So just thoughts about book clubs, and shall I just jump in and start spreading the word, or what do you think about doing it, and who's interested in it?
What are you thinking of a timeline for this, starting after January 1, given where we are right now between Thanksgiving and Christmas?
I'm unclear about what the best timeline is. That's probably what makes the most sense. I think I'm anxious to get them started, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, were the 6 book clubs all reading the same book, or?
We were all reading Stamped, and we took 8 weeks to do it.
Yeah.
So it was partly, let's not, some book clubs I know do a book every month or something, and we didn't want to overburden people with reading. And so I think we all felt like the book is great, and the opportunity to be together and have these conversations is what's really important.
Yes.
I don't know if Rachel or Brandon, you want to add anything to that. Rachel and Brandon were also facilitators of book clubs.
Yeah, I think there was an opportunity for people to do some personal growth. That's what it felt like, based on sort of where folks were, and the most meaningful stuff tended to fall into 2 categories, at least in Brandon and I's group, which was teachers, which was 1, sort of personal development, but then 2, applying that to the educational setting. So thinking about how to do that, and both sort of an institutional, organizational level, like with barriers that might happen, or understanding maybe how even teachers and the educational setting was perceived, versus how the teachers themselves thought of themselves maybe as allies, but then was that really being translated to students, and navigating that. Those were kind of the 2 spaces that Brandon and I kept seeing things fall in, I think. And I would be more than happy to co-facilitate again with Brandon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but only if you can do it with Brandon, though. Okay, we got that.
Yeah.
Brandon, anything you want to add?
Well, it's great to be loved. No, it's it's fantastic. The thing for me that really sticks out, and this is why I'm here today, is about the book clubs. It's just we did it, and then it was over, and it's very easy for people to go through those trainings. I'm not saying that this is what our majority of our group did, but think that they've done the work and it's done. I know a lot of people who didn't do the book clubs read that book and felt that they've done what they need to solve anti-racism. There was this huge outcry after George Floyd, and the more book clubs we go, it looks more like it's an ongoing thing, at least in my mind, so that this work is never really over, because, this is, you can always learn more. And so that's my interest in continuously just getting more people in. But, if there's only 1 book club once a year, it's easy to be like, oh, it's like taking a diversity training. We figured it out. Sexual harassment, we figured it out, where we know you have to continue to go through this and learn and get different perspectives. So, but yeah, I would love to work with Rachel again. That was great. I did one with you, John. That was great too. One community, one teacher, and they were very different conversations as well. There was something nice about having people in the same field of work, because they could talk about, their challenges, like Rachel talked about, between the teacher to student, and then student to administration, everything like that. So.
Great. I'm kind of inclined, especially with the teachers, to offer them a chance, for the teachers who've already gone through have already endured the book clubs, wrong choice of word there, already been part of the book clubs, to offer them a chance to meet even in November or December, not on a weekly basis, but I wish we would have gotten together sooner, but with the start of school and then election, it hasn't happened. But I'd rather not wait for January for the people who've already been in the clubs and are, I think, maybe hungry still for the chance to get back together and talk about, not even with a book at this point, but just to get back together and talk about what they've been learning and how they've been applying it and where
people set some really solid intentions, and I really am feeling like anxious to be like, how's that going? Because there were some set things that we asked people to say kind of how they were going to put it into action, and I really want to check in with those people if they want to be like, hey, how's it going? Are you feel like you're doing those things? What's gotten in the way? Like troubleshooting that. Brandon was saying, so it is like a continuous thing.
Yeah.
I really support us doing that.
I'm curious if there would be any interest in having maybe a teacher who's gone through the book club be a co-facilitator for future book clubs, so that they're continuing to learn, they're continuing to evolve through, working through the book again with other groups.
Yeah, that idea has been mentioned, and I think that would be great if that could happen. So, and it's particularly for teachers. I want to be sensitive to the kind of burden they're already facing in trying to teach in this virtual realm and semi-virtual realm and all the things they're doing. So. But I think it's a great idea. And we may be able to not even, sometimes not have them be, have as big a burden as facilitator, but ask them to lead a particular week or a particular section or something like that as a way to ease into that. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And especially on an ongoing basis, if the school system people can be taking it on themselves, I think that's a great idea. Other thoughts on book clubs?
So I did have one question. So for the funding for this, the schools are helping with this. So it's majority teachers. Was that for the first one that we did? Is that how it kind of worked? The school was paying, and so we were able to do some community with this group's funding, but most of it came from the school. Is that?
The way the funding worked was that the Athens Area Mediation Service were the people doling out the money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the school sent money to the mediation service to be used for this project, but it was actually designated for school personnel.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And, Tom Gibbs said he's certainly not going to quibble if there's a couple of community people in there. But we actually got a separate grant, the mediation service did, from the Athens Friends meeting. Mm. And that money was used for those book clubs. Mm. And there's also money from the Friends meeting to support the anti-racism leadership gathering. Mm-hmm. So if we do this idea of the books, it probably would come out of that grant money to pay for the books.
So I guess my question is, if we wanted to expand the community side, we would need to find another source of funding, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
We would either go back to the Friends or, you mentioned a fundraising idea, but
I think I do want to do that. The reason I'm here, I was talking to John. yes, Parker. Hold on a second. My daughter's really excited about this project. I did a fundraiser earlier this summer for EJI, and I think this would be something maybe I could connect with this group to do and just do a stream where people can come in and donate. So we raised almost $8,000 for EJI, which is a national organization, but I think this is local and we can see a direct impact. Because I do know there's just a bunch of community members that would love to be, that serve the community, and the teachers are very important, but if there's a way to get a lot more other people in there, like my wife did one, she teaches at Alexander, but that's not part of this, but then she can take that over there. So, okay. I mean, is that something the group would be interested in, I guess, collaborating on that? And when I say collaborating, it's really just sharing probably a flyer, or something like that.
I would assume 100% we would be interested in that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting close to 2:00, and I know that Rebecca has to leave in a moment. So I guess what I would say for wrapping things up is next meeting in December, if somebody would take on doing a doodle or however you want to do it to find our next meeting time. And the reason it might not make sense to do it right now is we're missing Vanessa and Micah and Lacey and Laura, and Lacey's schedule in particular is hard to work around in the past. So if somebody would take that, just checking in with Laura, and then figuring out a good time for us in December, roughly a month from now. Somebody able to do that?
I'll take that on.
Yeah, you sure? Okay, great.
I'll see what I can do, and I won't be able to get to it until next week, but I'll see what I can do.
I think that would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And I think normally this time would work for most everybody. Lacey's the only one that might not be a good time for, I think.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we've done well. Appreciate it. So you're going to send those minutes out to all of us, I bet, Rebecca? And we'll keep you abreast of what's happening with the anti-racism leadership gathering piece.
Okay.
We all set? Is there another meeting for that group? Is there another meeting for, maybe if you've sent something, maybe I've missed it?
I think we're planning to meet next Monday again, aren't we, Brandon? Yeah, so Monday morning at 10.
Yeah, on the 16th.
Yeah.
I'm happy to participate in that as a facilitator, but I can't meet on Mondays. I see clients every Monday at that time. So
yeah, I think that's great. I think we'd love to have you as a facilitator, and I don't think that requires you being in on the planning session. So
okay, yeah, just let me know if there's something like that I need to be filled in. I can make time another day, but Mondays are really busy for me usually.
Okay, good deal.
Thanks.
Well, we'll maybe have a particular meeting in December once we know more who's coming to think about facilitation issues. So we can schedule that around you.
Okay.
Well, isn't this fun? Thanks, everybody.
Very good.
Thanks for joining us, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
See ya.
Bye.